Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Game Beyond the Game presents Talk That Talk, inspiring conversations with professional athletes where we inspire our audience as we explore finding vision and purpose in life and discuss tools to overcome life's transitions. I am Sam Pearson, the second-year MC, and we are joined with founders you met before, but officially right now, Prince Daniels Jr. How you feeling officially, Prince?
Man, I feel amazing. I feel great. I feel blessed, and I feel honored just to be here, be able to interview another incredible athlete. I personally know him myself, and he's a cool guy, cool cat. But man, I'm great. I'm happy. Stan, thank you for being here, man. Let's get this show going.
My pleasure in all ways. And now it's my pleasure to introduce our special guest. He's a good guy. You're going to know this right away. Great smile, too. Don't think I didn't see the early way. Born and raised on the bayou of Gramercy, Louisiana, David Pittman is a former NFL cornerback. He currently serves as a Regional Transport Supervisor under the G&P entity of Marathon Petroleum with an MBA from Tulane University. He also serves on the board of the Demons Unlimited Foundation of Northwestern State University and is a high school football coach where he engages with student athletes to help develop sound character traits and skills. Today, he will be sharing with us his story of overcoming life's challenges and transition from the game. Ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are, clap your hands and stomp your feet. Mr. David Pittman. The crowd goes wild.
Don't melt your mouth. Don't melt your mic.
Yeah. How you feeling, David? What's happening? Talk to us. How you doing?
I'm feeling good, man. I'm blessed to be here with you guys, man, and just looking forward to having a great time and enjoying this conversation to where we can, help each other to grow and help our fellow athletes, along their journey in life. So I'm excited to be here.
Yeah,
awesome, bro. Awesome.
You Louisiana cats. You always got a special kind of swag. Talk to me about that. I meet a lot of people from Louisiana. It's just something about y'all. I gotta know, what is it? There seems like an aura, a confidence, just a vibe. What is it? What is it about Louisiana that you all just seem to walk tall, shoulders back all the time?
But let me put them shoulders up first, No, but I mean, honestly, I just think that, a lot of time when people reference the South, they talk about Louisiana, Atlanta, Florida. I believe that we all, Texas too, we all have kind of like our own little unique thing going on. But it's just, I don't know, something about being, down here on the bayou, and we just really, really unique. The food is good. Maybe it's the food, you know what I'm saying? It's just something in the food and the spices. You can't go anywhere else and get it, So I think that may attribute to kind of who we are as a people. So,
and I think it's also answering your own questions. Because you ask a question, then you feel like, you heard me? Yeah, right on, baby, yeah.
There's communicators in Louisiana because they gonna make sure. See that?
I also believe too that we kind of have our own little like special dialect compared to a lot of other places. Like we can sit and be in a conversation with a few people that aren't from here and can sound as clear as day. But as soon as we start having a conversation with each other, people be like, man, wait, what are y'all doing? What are y'all talking about? Like, is that a new language y'all created? It's just never heard that before. So we're kind of unique in that instance too. So
that's awesome.
No place like home. And so briefly, what was it like, growing up in Louisiana? How was it growing up, and how do you feel like you developed? I know that you mentioned obviously in the bio, helping guys develop, their charisma and skill sets. So what was it like for you growing up and developing those character traits?
Oh, so first off, what I'll say is that like Gramercy is a very, very small town. I think when I was growing up, it was probably population 2,000-3,000 or something like that. And it's kind of nestled right in between Baton Rouge and New Orleans. So one of the things that I would say is that we, being nestled right in the middle, you can kind of go get the vibe from the Baton Rouge end, but then you can also get the different cultural experience on the New Orleans end. Even though they're both in Louisiana, they kind of have you know, a little bit different culture between the two. So what I would say is that being able to go to both of those kind of helped me to grow. But then also, um, you know, I think when you grow up in a small town, but then you get exposed to like the city life, uh, what it does is there's a unique like growth phase in there because of that exposure. Where if you someone from the city, I don't think you necessarily get that experience because you're not necessarily gonna just go visit like small town, you know, and be able to embrace that small town culture. So I believe that played a big part into who I am today.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Sounds like you got a chance to get the without upbringing to the with, where it's like a plentitude of like exposure just going to the city. But when you're in the country, you know, you just have you don't really know how strong you are. You know, they use that term cockstrong, and so there are no weights. You know, there are officially no weights that you can lift. You just know you go lift that haystack. You strong. Yeah. So that's awesome, man.
Exactly. Yeah, it's not like, yeah, we going to the gym. You're gonna go flip some tires, you know what I'm saying?
Like you use what you have.
Exactly.
Go pick up that
Very
tree over
innovative.
there. Right.
That's amazing.
Yep.
Literally the best of both worlds. Actually, three worlds, but being right in the middle, but the best of both worlds. There's a lot of folks don't understand that, you know, being able to come back to, let's say, a smaller town where maybe you know everyone, everyone's kind of helping everyone, and then being able to go into the city, then come back and breathe and see, just relax. I think, did you find that there was some benefit to being able to, I don't know, recluse or come back to, let's say, the small town and relax a little bit as opposed to being in the busy city 100% of the time?
Yeah, so you know, there's a certain dynamic of the big city where it's kind of like the hustle and bustle. You know what I'm saying? The city doesn't sleep. You know, and there's always traffic. Um, but then when you come back to the small town or to the country, you know, you can sit out on your back porch at night, right before dawn, and you can hear the crickets. You know what I'm saying? You get to see the sunset, and you don't have all of the bright lights. You don't have all of the traffic. It's just kind of like peace and quiet, and you kind of get in tune with your inner self. You know what I'm saying? To sort of say where you can process, you know, these thoughts about like your internal growth or, you know, where you want to go in life, uh and kind of use that, you know, on your day-to-day path to whatever it is you're trying to achieve. So that's what I think is one of the big benefits of kind of like being out like kind of in the country versus living in the city.
Heck yeah, that is like time. Thanks for pointing that out. I think sometimes even younger people have to know that, hey, it's okay to be able to sit back and chill and listen to the, let's say, birds chirp or crickets or whatever. Like there's life in those things, just looking at the sky as well. So thank you for that point. And before I turn it over to Prince, I want to ask, as you developed as an athlete, did you know that, hey, one day I'm going to be on the big stage. I'm going to be the 1% of people doing being the best at what they do?
I think as I started to get older, or like in my, I guess my sophomore year in college, I kind of started to understand that some. But I mean, when I was younger, like teenage years or preteen, it was just all about like competing with friends and family around the neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? Like we would race up and down the street. You know what I'm saying? It might be 9, 10 o'clock at night. We running up and down the street without shoes on or something. You know what I'm saying?
That's that country living, boy. I tell you.
If you can run without shoes on, you better give me some gym shoes and watch what happens.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So I mean, it was like we just would compete at like everything. It would be who can like skip a rock on the water. You know what I'm saying? Who can try to like jump over the fence without touching it? Just any and everything. Who can jump over the ditch the furthest? Like just any little thing that you can compete at. You know what I'm saying? That's what we did, and I think that kind of like built that foundation to kind of help mold me. But during that time frame, it really wasn't like this big thought on, hey, I'm gonna be like a 1%er, you know. I actually was kind of like a late bloomer. I always used to hang around like the older kids because I felt as though like I could learn a lot more from them than I could like, you know, people my age. And when I was younger, I used to be always told by elders that, you know, I somewhat had somewhat of an old soul. So I think that also pushed me to migrate towards them some. And the guys that I grew up around were like tremendous athletes. So I just always, you know, competed with them and fed off of that energy. And then as I progressed and went to college, I still had the opportunity to do that with older guys that was already at school once I got there. So it was like, even though I went to this small university, it was kind of like a blessing in disguise. You know what I'm saying? So when I was in the midst of it, I didn't totally interpret it the way that I'm interpreting it now. And I totally didn't understand that until later on when I was reflecting back on it. So I mean, I am very appreciative of all of those experiences would help me to, you know, to make it to the NFL. So
Man, that's awesome, man. So it seems like you stand out no matter what. So you know, you started off by living in the country, racing with no shoes on up the hill, flipping haystacks, you know, all of the above. But then you ended up just knowing more about the city, you know, going to the city. And then after that, you said you went to a small school. And from a small school, you get drafted to the Baltimore Ravens in the third round. And like that's an incredible feat in itself. And so you had to be a standout athlete in a small school to get drafted, you know, very high. And you know, congratulations on that, man, because that's a great accomplishment. So tell us a little bit about college, man. What was the college like? And like you said, during your sophomore year, you started to blossom. But like, what was the blossoming process like? What did you see? Did you see yourself evolving? You know, knocking people out. You know, making interceptions. Just like, how did you evolve?
So one of the things that kind of helped me. So when I first got to college,
And what college did you go to?
I went to Northwestern State
Okay.
in Natchitoches, Louisiana. So when I first got there, the university was actually they had a pretty good good secondary. It was kind of known for like having defensive backs that went to the NFL. And I wasn't even really aware of this until I got there. But I remember there was a cornerback named Kenny Wright. He played before I got there, but one of the coaches had this painting in his office, and it was like three quarters of the world is covered by water, the other quarter is covered by Kenny. You know what I'm saying? I was just like, man, like wow, that's, you know what I'm saying? That's huge. And then the other guys that I played with, they were always very competitive. There were a set of twins, Kerry and Jerry Goldsmith. They weren't big guys; they were like tiny, but they can play ball and cover, you know. And then me myself, I wasn't a big guy, so that kind of boosted my confidence even more. And then we had another older cornerback, Terrence McGee, who was drafted by the Buffalo Bills, I think in 2004 in the third round.
Right.
And we used to call him Turtle because he was always quiet. Like he wouldn't say nothing, like nothing at all. He can knock somebody out and you wouldn't get no excitement at all.
Yeah, that Kawhi Leonard syndrome.
Yeah, I'm saying like, man, I know you got something in you, man. Like, give me something. So, but just seeing like those guys' work ethics and what was already instilled in me from competing as a kid, like you said, flipping haystacks or running up the side of the levee, you know what I'm saying? But like that helped me along my journey, seeing them and the way that they competed and the amount of work that they put in. And then what I did was my sophomore year, like I was saying, I had a game that I had a bad game, a very bad game. Well, actually, before that, I almost quit. I almost quit football.
Really?
Honestly, yeah.
What was so bad? You quit football, quit the game? How many
So,
times? Just kidding.
so I'm gonna tell you what happened. I had a knee injury, and then when I came back and I rehabbed from the injury, like I said, I had all these good cornerbacks in front of me, but I was trying to practice, and the coaches were kind of like, "Nah, you know, you don't think you're ready," and all of that stuff. But I'm like, "Man, I think I'm ready." So it was a little bit discouraging, and then I was like, "Man, I think I'm about to just get this up," because they didn't want to let me practice. I was like, "Man, I'm just out here doing nothing," and I'm like, "I just want to compete. That's it." And then I had a talk with a couple practice squad guys actually, and they was like, "Man, you got this opportunity in front of you, and you know what I'm saying, man. You just got to kind of give it some time. Like they're looking out for your best interest. You just came back from an injury." So I sit and I kind of pondered on all of that, and that kind of motivated me more to continue to do what I was doing. So after that, started playing a little bit. Got to my sophomore year. I think we were playing Elon, which is from like North or South Carolina, and they had this good receiver. And the guy caught like 2-3 touchdowns on me. like bombs. I'm talking like 40, 50-yard catches, man. And it was like wonderful halftime. And when you out there on the island by yourself, man, and everybody only get to see you, you know what I'm saying? They don't see when the D-lineman mess up. They just see somebody just caught a 40, 50-yard bomb on you. They're striking up the band, the chit, everybody. Exactly. So it's like, man, just was feeling like that small. I mean, you know what I'm saying? So, and just had a bad game, man. And I had a talk with actually a receiver coach. So one day we was off. He called me in the office and we had to sit down. And he was like, "Man, there's 2 ways you can go from this. You know what I'm saying? You can either look at this and let it like break you and it get stuck in your head and it kills your confidence, or you can use this as a learning moment and let it build, you know what I'm saying, your character and who you're gonna be as a player." So, and that was Coach Mason. And so after that next game, caught an interception, ran it back, didn't score a touchdown, but ran it back for about 20, 30 something yard. You know what I'm saying? And then after that, what I started doing was I started looking at every cornerback who was in my conference that were like all conference, and then we had something that was like all Americans. So every week I would pull their stats and I would say to myself, I have to outcompete them every week. If I want to get to where I'm going, I need to outcompete him. So if he had 7 tackles, I needed to get 9 or 10. You know what I'm saying? If he had an interception, I needed to try to get an interception and a fumble. So every week, that's what I did for like the next 2 to 3 years. And then, it was just, then at practice, it was just competing against the receivers and we would have fun with it. You know what I'm saying? Like we just have fun. So that's what helped me a lot.
Nice, man. It reminds me of one of our other guests, DeVar Darling, one of our old teammates. He talked about that. He talked about when him and his brother, rest in peace, when they wanted to get to the NFL, he said that his uncle, or was it his cousin, Stan? I think he said it was his cousin.
Yeah.
His cousin came in and threw down a small little handbook that Mel Kiper had. And he said, threw it on the table. He said, if I want to be in the NFL, you got to be able to beat everybody in that book. So it reminds me of that, just how you started looking at your competition or the people in your position, and you was just like, I'm going to outdo you, outdo you, outdo you, and outdo you. So that is, I feel like that's the secret sauce to what allowed for you to be drafted and to make that change and that evolve, because you knew that you had something in you where you felt like, I can outdo them, I could beat them, and I can, and that's just the small things. You wasn't looking like I could beat them to make to the NFL. You were just like, let me just do these small things. I'm better than you. I'm better than you, and I'm better than you. So come on, like, let's go. So that's awesome, man. I love that.
And I want to admire your intentionality. Some people mistake, let's say, competition, but they just compete with whoever. Oh, I see. Oh, I'm competing. Oh. When it's like, yeah, you just don't want to find yourself competing against anybody. You want to be intentional, like, oh, you're the best, or you're great, or you're accomplished. I want that. And being intentional about that. Some folks, have the competition thing messed up or misunderstood, because when you're let's say competing against truly the people who are the best in your area, you find yourself competing with you in addition to ascending to that level. So thank you for pointing that out. And for those listening about, who discuss competition in business life and in sports, like being intentional about who and what you're competing against and for is what really allows the game to change for you.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So that's awesome. So tell me about, so you get drafted to the Ravens and you're in Baltimore. I see you. You see me. No. Well, actually, we get there, man, and you already know we come into a team that's established. Like, we talk about the defense, we had the number one defense in the NFL. When we came in our rookie year, and just talk about like playing with those guys. How did it help elevate your game, man?
So first off, I would say, which I know you're aware of this too, but like when you first arrive in Baltimore, there's like a certain aura when you walk in that building. You know what I'm saying? It's something that you just really can't explain, but there's just an aura and a culture about the Ravens. You know what I'm saying? And so it kind of, when you first walk in, it just kind of starts with that. But then getting there and, the caliber of players that we were on the team with, from the Ray Lewises, the Ed Reeds,
Bart Scott, Daniel Thomas, Kelly Gregg, Haloti Nata,
Terrell Suggs,
yeah,
McAllister,
yes,
just on and on. Jonathan Ogden, just
right.
All these just
Jamal Lewis, no, yep.
So it's like when you're in those settings, you can't do nothing but just elevate. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think it just becomes instinctual that you just gotta elevate. You know what I'm saying? And but what I learned, and I'm sure what you learned too, PJ, is that along your journey prior to that, you had a bunch of experiences that hadn't already prepared you. You know what I'm saying, for that.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Not even knowing that it did, but it was already preparing you for that. So like me, competing with the older cousins and friends from the community, with the older guys,
right.
Even though I'm the young one. And it's like, okay, then the same thing happened in college. I mean, that same type of setting. And then boom, we go to Baltimore, and then it's like, man, this is like, we at the pinnacle, you in the 1%, but then you have the 1% of the 1%, you know what I'm saying, who's like on the top of the mountain. So it's like, it just helped me to elevate my game, athletically, but also in my personal and professional life too. So
nice.
What would you say some skills that, let's say you as you mentioned, personal and professional life, some skills that maybe you took from the field that now you apply moving forward? Some people would argue that how you do one thing is how you do everything. So when you pick up those kind of skills from the situation and adjust, what are some things you took from the field that now you use in your life, in your coaching, in your work?
So what I would say is that one would be I always created like a set of principles, right?
Yeah.
And within those principles, there's about like 6, 7 things that I kind of like write down, or I call like my creed. And I truly didn't understand, you know what I'm saying, all of those principles and how instrumental they were like in guiding me in my life, and how sports played a major part in that. But one of the first things was like writing down my goals, like kind of seeing it and then seeing it to believe it, and then that helps condition the mind to go after what those goals are. And then from football is stepping outside of my comfort zone. You know what I'm saying? So going into that building with like that caliber of players, and then coming from like a small town, that's a huge step. Coming from a small school, that's a huge step. You know what I'm saying? That's way outside of what I'm normally used to being comfortable with. And then what it allowed me to do was copy the qualities and traits of, some of these successful people. You know what I'm saying? Take the things that you would like to apply to your own life and copy those qualities and traits. You know what I'm saying? And implement them into what it is that you're trying to achieve. And then another one is making it a habit. You know what I'm saying? Be disciplined and consistent with those qualities and traits.
Yes,
And
sir.
and then also understanding that your circumstances doesn't dictate your growth.
Mm.
So coming from a small school, you know what I'm saying, knowing that like when I was in college, they had these all conference and actually some NFL caliber cornerbacks that was in the conference. Seeing that and knowing that where I wasn't necessarily going to just dictate my growth. And the same with being in Baltimore, you know, um, knowing that, hey, you're just this kid from a small town, but that's not going to dictate, what I'm saying, who I am and what I'm going to become as a player, and also in my personal and professional life. So,
Nice, man. I mean, I just had to write it down. What you said, circumstances don't dictate your growth, man. I mean, I thought that was really cool because after the game, after playing in Baltimore, man, I feel like I let my circumstance kind of dictate my growth. It stifled my growth, to be completely honest, because like as you mentioned, we all have goals. And, I wrote my goals down, but I didn't look at them every day. I didn't remind myself about accomplishing those goals. And one of the things that I wish that I would have had when I was younger is emotional intelligence. And so after the game, it was more of a challenge for me to grow, because I was still caught up in the league, and I feel like I left prematurely due to injuries, but I didn't think they were career ending. But on paper, it looked like it was. So I want to transition into life after the game. How was that transition for you due to your circumstances? Because I know for me it was difficult, but what about yourself?
So I would say that me and you have some similarities from that perspective, because I dealt with a lot of injuries too, and that pretty much ended my career.
Right.
So transitioning to an extent was very difficult.
Yeah.
And I mean, some of it I was dealing with, like, the vices that come along with transitioning. But then also I lost my father around that time. So I had some other personal life things going on too,
Right.
and then like what I think helped me some was like some of the guys that I know was kind of going through that same phase around that same time. We would talk about it, you know what I'm saying? And then some people it would impact like drastically, you know what I'm saying? Because like most people think that when you transition, like because you was this like top football player or this top athlete, then the world is just sitting there waiting for you and everything is gonna be like on a silver platter for you, once you go to transition, but it's actually not like that. I mean, I actually think that we have it a lot harder than normal people. You know what I'm saying? Because we don't come from normal circumstances. And, you know, like, and how I kind of explain it to people is like, yeah, we're these supreme athletes, right? Top 1% of our profession. But what that does is when we leave college, even though we have education, you know what I'm saying, and we have all of these other qualities and characteristics that's been, instilled in us from like day one. And if you were to match us up against anybody in most professions, we would be able to hold our own and 9 out of 10 gonna outcompete anybody. You know what I'm saying? Because it just becomes second nature. And that's not like taking jabs at anybody, but I mean that's just who we are. But being removed, from normal life,
Society, right?
yeah, it's like when you go to transition back into it, it's like when I was trying to transition and trying to decide what my next career was going to be, it was, oh, you don't have any experience. It's like I'm not gonna have experience.
I'm just deprived of it for years.
Yeah, I'm not. You know what I'm saying? Because I didn't go into the regular workforce. You know what I'm saying? My path is a path of like the 1%. So you can't really put me in that category with everybody else. I mean, I have a degree. I have the qualities, you know what I'm saying, and the characteristics that and the requirements that could fit these jobs, you know what I'm saying, that align with my degree. I just don't have that experience, but experience is mostly on the job training. You know what I'm saying? So like experiencing that and then like looking at the parallels from where I was to where I was trying to transition to, and it's like I know what I bring to the table, but you're telling me that I'm basically not good enough. But if you put me in the room with these other people, then I would be able to compete. You know what I'm saying?
You'll probably intimidate them.
Right.
Your natural ability to want to compete at the highest level and be the best version of you. So, like that plays in a hierarchy part of business and politics.
So I believe that, that adds to the difficulty of athletes trying to transition from sports into their next career. And I mean, I think what that does too is it leads a lot of athletes to like go into like either broadcasting or being a trainer, a weight trainer, you know what I'm saying? Or something along the lines of that, but that may not be what they really want to do.
Right.
But that's just kind of what they're doing because all of these vices that they have to contend with.
Like have to stay to what they've always known.
All right.
And to your point as well, David, it's the understanding where people have come from and what they've went through, and knowing that this is that enough feeling happens at all levels. And this is going back to your point that sometimes people go, "No, well, you got a lot of money, or I bet you play on TV. That means that you have no worries." It's like, man, shut up. Like, that's what you want to say, but you can't say that because people get upset, right? That enough feeling happens like at every single level. And again, obviously 99% of the population hasn't operated at the 1%. This is just literal facts. We're talking about how that operates. So again, imagine that enough feeling at any level is difficult. And so helping people understand, and the way you explained it is perfect. And heck, even an oversimplification, is, let's say someone who goes to a restaurant, or they think they're an amazing cook, right? They made this amazing meal, or they went to this restaurant. It was ridiculously good. And then they go home and they try to make the meal, or somebody tries, and they're like, we're shocking their mood. This is not, the amazing restaurants. Like, people actually go through that transition when they've eaten at an amazing restaurant, and now they just can't see themselves going, or they sit in first class for the first time ever. Now they can't see themselves going back to coach. And that's just on a minor level. So when you talk to a professional athlete like yourself that has given literal blood, sweat, tears, their body and their minds to something, and then one day someone or something says your time is done, that can be devastating on all levels. If that makes sense, if that's speaking to you at all, feel free to add anything. But it made all that make sense when you say, because sometimes that's the first thing people say is, well, you're on TV, like, and that means what?
Yeah, no, man, Stan, you bring up a really good point, because a lot of people look over that and they just see athletes and it's like, well, you had your time, you had your 15 minutes of fame, you should be happy. But that's not what life is about. The pursuit of happiness goes way beyond that. And sports is just a small fraction of our lives, especially when we're looking to live to 80, 100 years old. It's just something that I want our listeners to take heed, that this is what the athletes go through. It's a mental transition, physical transition, and also they need some support in the spiritual transition. And we need
Great
unity. Say it again.
Grace. I didn't mean to step on you.
Grace. Yeah, grace. Exactly. We need that. We need grace. We need unity. We need to be able to come together and speak about the problems that we've all shared, and then look for a solution and some type of remedy. Because when you know that everyone is going to go through that same type of transition, no matter if they made a lot of money or not, prevention is better than the cure. And so we need to put something in place to make sure that everyone doesn't hit rock bottom. Because if everybody hits rock bottom, then what's left? So great point. I just want our listeners to understand that athletes go through a lot of changes, from being the 1% to being a part of the 100%. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, because there are always people, and it's not like something was given. Like everything, every professional athlete they earned it. Outside of Tom Brady, okay, I have my own feelings, but outside of him, I'm just joking, right? Every player is earned. Everything, people have earned it. So I think that's what's important for everyone to understand, because you all, let's say as professional athletes, give it their all, and the average life maybe a couple years, a few years, 40, whatever it is. Most people work 20, 30 years at one place that they're not necessarily crazy about. And I think people even understanding those different things as well. And I think all that to lead me to this question to you, David, is you've learned so much, throughout your transitions. What's some advice that you would give to the younger version of you, right? If you look back and you had a chance to have a convo with that guy, what advice would you give him now that you know what you know?
So kind of like with PJ, I can't remember which one of the principles that he wrote down, but
circumstances don't dictate your growth.
Exactly. So what I would say is that a lot of the principles are pretty much all of the principles that I talked about, I truly didn't understand that, how instrumental they were in guiding me. So in like guiding me in life into who I am today. So it's like they were there, but they weren't really defined, and I really didn't pay attention to them and how they were guiding me until maybe about 10 years ago or so. You know what I'm saying? It was like what I would tell my younger self is if I was to kind of sit back and, I don't want to say smell the roses, but if I were to really sit down and process those principles and how they would be instrumental in my life as I was along my journey from the younger me until now, um, I believe my growth phase would be a little bit different than what it is now. So that's what I would tell the younger me or the next generation. Just take some time to, what I'm saying, put together some principles and understand them, and then how you want to apply them to your life to help you grow into who you are.
Right. Oh, that's beautiful, man.
Sharing that.
Well said. Yeah, well said. Uh, putting principles down is one thing, but actually applying them is another. And so that was beautiful. Well said, man. So, um, it's so much stuff that's going on in the world right now, and a lot of people are trying to figure out which way to go left, go right, and they don't know. And for me, I always think about your last breath on earth, because that's the most important thing, because once the breath is the bridge between being alive and being deceased, and so we don't really give that much thought. But I always ask people or athletes whenever they come on the show, if you only had 72 hours to live, what would you want to tell your loved ones, and what would you tell them?
72 hours to live.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I'll be trying to process a lot. I might be asking, man. I'll be asking the man upstairs, hey, just give me like a couple more hours added on. Like get like an extra 5 or something.
Give me 77 hours. Come on, man. I'm good for it, right? It's the Mac.
Just a couple more, you know what I'm saying? But I mean, like, one of the main things is I would definitely let my family know, let them know that I love them first and foremost. I would also make sure that along their journey that they are planting like positive seeds of growth, amongst the family and also amongst people that they come in contact with. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes those little like small conversations that you may have with somebody, it may spark something in you. You know what I'm saying? So that would be kind of like two of the main things that I would try to hit home with them. Make sure they know that I love them, and I cherish, the moments that I've had to experience with them, and that they, along their journey, plant seeds of positivity and growth amongst the people that they interact with.
That's, man, well said, bro. That was beautiful. That was beautiful. It's like that was touching right there. No, seriously, like real talk. Like that was really touching, man. So, thank you for that. Thank you.
Easily done. It's practical. It makes sense. And people in general need to understand how important it is, as you said, to just plant positive seeds, growth. That piece is major. Thank you for sharing that. So what are you working on now? How can people support you or learn more about you, David?
So, man, as of lately, man, I actually been like pretty busy with work. There's a lot of stuff going on, within the world right now, and it's kind of impacting us operationally somewhat. But I mean, outside of that, man, the main thing that I've been doing is I've been helping these seventh and eighth graders at my alma mater high school, kind of trying to instill some sound characteristics in them, because I know that, when you, like we were talking about, these transitional phases are like beyond the game, you know what I'm saying? Like 7th and 8th graders, they are transitioning from like elementary school going into high school, you know what I'm saying? So there's like this new foundation that they have to make, and that's going to help them along that little high school journey. So that's some of what I've been doing. I also working on this scholarship at my alma mater at Northwestern State, to try to help a student athlete from my region, from the River Parish area, to attend Northwestern State. Sometimes some people ask why there and not just give funding, to a student athlete to go to a place of their choice. I believe the reason why is that, one, I want to try to help somebody from my regional area to try to grow, but then also there's a lot that was instilled in me and helped me along my journey at Northwestern State. You know what I'm saying? So I would like to see some growth there too. So that's a couple of the things that I've been working on. And then the next thing is man, I'm looking forward to reading PJ new book. You know,
Hey.
and I'm so hyped about that, man. Like I might set the whole weekend aside. You know,
Hey, man.
ready for a long deck and everything, man.
Feet up, damn.
I'm trying to tell you.
Hey, man. Speaking of that, man, I wanted to tell you. My foundation, 4LBU, For Life BU. It's right now we are donating books to underserved schools, high school, middle school. So let's definitely talk and put something together, because I want to donate these books and send them your way. And then after that, we'll follow up with like a little 2 to 3 week like coaching session for young kids to get them really involved and just understand what they've read. And if they can't even comprehend what they've read, we could do a read along, to help them really dive into it, because we got to feed them this information at a young age. And because it's going to take time, just like whenever you plant a seed in the ground, it takes time to grow, and for you to be able to bear the fruit, to enjoy the fruit, that has grown from the ground. And so the same thing with this, we're planting this seed with these books, to teach them how to become the best versions of themselves. And then after that, we continue to mold them to help them grow in the right direction. So, man, I would love to partner with you, to gather with you, get Stan involved as well, man, and just have more leaders that look like them and that can help them really evolve, times 10. And that's our way of giving back.
Yeah, man, that sounds great to me. I mean, I also think that there could be an opportunity to expand that even more. You know what I'm saying? You can reach even further with the school systems, possibly out here. So I definitely look forward to having some discussions about that and seeing how impactful we can be on that front.
Let's do it, man. Like, ain't nothing to it but to do it,
Exactly.
Yeah, amazing. Any final words or thoughts, as we get out of here and close out?
Man, I mean, I just appreciate the time, I appreciate the fellowship. And I look forward to communicating with y'all in the near future, man. And stay blessed.
Always.
Love it.
How about Chris?
Man, love it. Just happy. Life is great, even in the midst of chaos. I guess the main thing is we want to remind people that life is great. It's what you envision, what you see. You follow that vision. You will not be hamstringed or feel like you are a victim of all of the external things that are going on. You will always find happiness from within. So those are my last words, and I just want to remind people the power is within you. I don't want to sound like Captain Planet, but I just want to remind people that you have the power to make change, and in order for the change to happen, you got to look within. And once you see the change within, it's going to happen in your external environment. So,
absolutely. And if I can wrap that in a bow as a collective, quite simply, putting those words in this last statement, and that's quite simply to create what you want to see. And that is obviously what David continues to do and has done, what Prince has done, and what you watching or listening can absolutely do. In the midst of all this chaos, unprecedented times, and still adjusting, right, through, the pandemonium, if you will, is that we have to begin to create. If we don't see happiness, we have to be happiness. If we don't see nice people, we have to be that nice person. And it just takes a little bit of effort to go a long way. And as we've been closing this out, we've heard it and been restating, being able to plant seeds or planting positive seeds of growth. And if you are willing to plant that one seed, watch what will grow around you. So thank you officially again, David, for being an amazing guest. We never doubted it. So we appreciate you so much for joining us, sharing your story and being so transparent and sharing the love. And for those of you all watching, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube page at Game Beyond the Game. All right, don't forget to do that. And you can join us here next week on Game Beyond the Game Facebook Live every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will see you then, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Don't talk about you didn't know what time it was. We all put the 5 up to you, dumb. No, I'm just kidding. We love y'all and appreciate you so much. Have a great one, y'all.
Have a great one, y'all. Peace.